Here at South Shore, we're passionate about missions. We have about 18 organizations that we support across the world, and Mary is in Chad, Africa. And so I'm going to have her share a little bit on what's going on in Chad. We've been supporting her for a while, and I want you to hear exactly her heart and what that ministry looks like and your partnership with that. So, Mary?
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to come. At 5 years old, I went to Vacation Bible School, and I realized that I needed Jesus Christ. That he loved me so much, like nobody else has ever loved me, and he died for me, and it was worth following him with my whole heart. The age of 7, as I was reading missionary biographies, I realized that people were dying all over the world, and they needed Jesus. And I said to Jesus, can't I be a missionary? And that's not something that a 7-year-old holds on to, but that was a God thought, and he kept that in my heart all these years. When I was reading in high school, there was a lady named Dr. Pauline Hamilton. She was a doctor in the East Coast, and she was having a great ministry with young boys and junior high guys and high school guys. And God said, Pauline, I want you to move to China. She's like, no, not me, thanks. I'm doing a great thing right here. And he said, absolutely, you've got to move to China. And she was talking and praying and struggling with God for a week. And at the end of a week, she saw something. She saw a sign. It had an A, 0 with a bar through it. And it meant anywhere, anytime, at any cost, bar nothing, I will follow Jesus. And that's become the measure of my heart. When I struggle and I'm resistant, my question is, Mary, can you still say, anywhere, anytime, at any cost, I will follow Jesus? So I'd like to tell you a couple quick stories about Chad, but maybe you don't know where it is. If you look at Africa, the very top is Libya, and then right under it's Chad. There's Nigeria, Cameroon, Central African Republic, Sudan. We call it the heart of Africa. I had a neighbor next door to me in Chad. His name was Alexi. Alexi's a great guy. When I first met him 3 years ago, he had his life together. He was the head of a radio station. He made big money. He was important, and he thought life was going good. But he had a problem. He'd walked away from God. And for 2 years, he had almost a club of 5 men that walked away from God, little rebellious dudes. They would all meet together every Sunday morning instead of going to church. And I began to pray, God, would you not break their hearts and bring them back to Jesus? Many of them were polygamous, and his cousin, and then eventually he began to have a second woman around, a mistress. And God finally, through prayers, took away his job. He lost his status, his money, and his power. And finally, God humbled him. It's a typical story in Chad. It's a typical story in America. One of the things that God has asked Alexi and I is to become part of, you can turn on the video or the thing in the silence in the background. He's asked God and Alexi and I to work on building a radio station in Lai. Do you guys listen to radio? Would you do me a favor? For this next 3 years, would you pray, God, give a radio station to Lai. It's a place that we can evangelize. It's a place that we can teach the Bible. Everybody around us, there's at least 7 to 10 languages, and they are illiterate. So it would be an important way to reach out. Chad has 120 languages, 15 million people, 3 times the size of Texas. It's like a big place. So the second story I'd like to tell is about you guys, indirectly. Every year, one of the important things about Chad is the Chad for Christ campaign. And from Christmas to New Year's, the churches came together and they reached out to one part of Chad to reach them for Christ. People would come by the hundreds. It was an incredible opportunity. And in 2010, I was part of the Bynamar Chad for Christ campaign. I think we had about 600 people there. That's okay if you're in America. and you've got good transportation, but it's kind of tough in Chad. So there was my truck, a Toyota Land Cruiser, which in Chad style holds about 20. And then there was a dump truck or two. But other than that, how are you to get 600 people out in the bush? And did I mention when I went to Chad 24 years ago, there was one paved road in the whole country? It's still about 6 or 7. So anyway, we had it for a week, and at the end of that week, a lot of people came to Christ. There was whole villages that wanted a little chapel to be built. And God put together 35 evangelists that were willing to move. But these are men that are maybe at the best elders, that are subsistence farmers that picked up and moved from one area to another area to try to hold a way to keep these people's hearts in Christ. It was challenging, and these people were hungry, these evangelists. And you guys started sending money to support them 6 years ago. So I say thank you. With your support, we had 3 or 4 training times. Part of those trainings were for their husbands, and some of them were for the wives as well. One of the things that's happened in the last 3 years, since I moved to Lye, is that we had 2 more training camps. 150 people came in April. 150, representing 17 church districts all over the area of Chad I was working in. And that still doesn't cover it. One of the things I ask you guys to pray for is there's something called a proclaimer. And a proclaimer is about that big, and it's got a solar panel on it. And they put the Bible on it, the oral Bible in any language that's been translated. They can put 4 languages at a time. And I would like to get 200 or even 400 proclaimers to take back to Chad, to hand one out to each evangelist, so that when they go to their villages, they can play the Bible. I use the Bible to go to sleep at night. It's the most powerful thing in my life. I read the Bible every day. I made that commitment at the age of 13. I wouldn't live without hearing from Jesus. He is my life. The third story is about a girls' school that's right next door to me. And Lorraine, well, when I worked before with the Ngumbai people, they helped girls. But I moved to the Nangere area, and the Nangere people have a girl child, and they say, oh, you're stupid. You're dumb. You'll never learn to read. Not a point. We'll just leave you. And so hardly any girls learn to read or write. And you don't learn to read and write, you don't usually think outside the box. And so all these women were good for, and they are good, was for making their husbands happy, washing the clothes, making food, working in the field. So Lorraine built a girls' school. It has 500 girls in grade school. 500 girls, which are Muslim, animist or ancestor worshipers, and Christians. Incredible opportunity. 200 girls in junior high. And what I would pray for is that God would give us somebody that would come and teach English. One of you guys. Could be a couple, could be a woman, who would give 2 years of their lives and come and teach English. And you could use the Bible to do it and build relationships. It would be an incredible opportunity. God has asked each of us, what are our priorities? Who do we love? What is worth following? And I think my whole life on earth is 80 years. It's so little. It's like holding water in the palm of my hand. It won't last. But if I invest for eternity, if I say, God, whatever counts here on this earth is nothing, fame, money, everything else, it's just a drop in the bucket. But Jesus Christ, he's worth it all. If I say that, and I live every day to be perfume and the smell of Jesus in the eyes of other people, then I will have invested for what counts. And that's the only thing that I can take with me to heaven. So I ask you today, can you say, anywhere, anytime, at any cost, I will follow Jesus. God bless you guys.